Good evening to all. Hello. We are glad to welcome you on our webinar today. And please let me know if you can hear and see me well. If we are connected, please type if you can see and hear me well. And before we start, actually, we would like to get better acquainted with our audience. And please also type where are you from today and what level of English you have to understand the audience. Hi, Pinky Pims and Alicia, hello. Can you hear us? And meanwhile, while you are typing the location and the level of English, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Daria Gureva, and I am an expert in international education at Univibes. And today I am moderating this event for you. And I will receive your questions in the chat here, and I will read them out to our speakers at the end of the presentation. So please do ask your questions. We will read out them. So we have Moscow, and we have B2, C1 level of English. Hello. So please let us know where are you from. We have a lot of listeners. Actually, we have a big audience today. Again, Moscow, mostly Moscow. So where are you from? Kuwait. Wow. Quite a big geography today. So while you are typing, let's continue. And I hope that our webinar will be useful for you because we are discussing Canada as a study of destination, the study destination for international students. Canada is one of the most popular countries for education for those who plan to stay in the country after their graduation. And actually, it offers a lot of benefits for international students. And the cost of education may be very affordable compared to, for example, the USA or UK. And today, we have invited our friends from Alexander College, Gregory Pokorny and Frank Rahmati, who will describe the educational system in Canada and how colleges differ from universities in Canada, what benefits international students in Canada have in terms of migration and career development, and introduce you Alexander College in details, what programs they offer, what opportunities they have, the requirements and tuition costs. So please do ask your questions and I will read out them at the end of the presentation. And Gregory and Frank, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Daria, and hello, everybody, wherever you're tuning in from or listening from. As Daria mentioned, I think we have a wide scope of people from around the world, so that's great to see, and thank you for joining us. My name is Gregory Pokorny. I'm a manager of a marketing enrollment manager at Alexander College in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, and I'll let my colleague introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining for today's webinar. Thank you, Daria, for the great presentation. So my name is Frank, and I'm also enrollment and academic advisor at Alexander College located in Vancouver, BC. Hopefully, we will share more information about our college shortly. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Frank. So we'll get right into it, and it's early morning here in Vancouver, and but again, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to listen in and join our presentation. So I will begin, and we'll start with a little bit of information about studying in Canada and the geography and where we are. So yeah, so basically, as you can see here, you can see the map of Canada, and Canada is a very big country. And where we're located is Alexander College is located in Vancouver, which is the third largest city in Canada. The biggest city is Toronto, which is in Ontario. The second biggest is Montreal, which is in Quebec, the French-speaking part of Canada. And you can see the arrow there where we are way on the west coast in the province called British Columbia and in the city called Vancouver. So that's where we're located. And just to give you a little bit of background about the education system in Canada, and I've only kind of focused on British Columbia because in Canada, the education system varies from province to province. So we're located in British Columbia. So basically, how the education system works is there's 12 years of elementary school to the end of secondary school. Students will start kindergarten, grade 1, all the way to grade 12. Then, once they finish high school, they have different options. College could be an associate degree or a diploma, could be varying between 1 to 4 years. Bachelor's degree in Canada is usually always 4 years. Sometimes you can find 3-year bachelors, but in general, the rule of thumb is 4 years. And postgraduate diploma, these could be 1 to 3 years. This means you've already got a bachelor's degree. You can go for a postgraduate diploma. Master's degrees are 1 to 3 years. Keep in mind, for master's degrees, these are administered by universities in Canada. No college has master's degrees. So normally the progression is maybe an associate degree or bachelor's degree, then master's degree. But master's degree is always offered or administered at universities. And then after master's, there's, of course, doctorate, PhD, which could be up 3 years or more. So that's just a general basic how this education system is in BC. Okay, so I'm just going to get into some general points about why Canada, basically has become a very popular study destination for international students. And of course, this is not an exhaustive list. There could be more points, but these are the kind of main points where people see benefits and where the good benefits and points are for studying in Canada for international students. So first of all, Daria kind of mentioned this in her opening, but about the tuition fees. When we compare maybe to other destinations, tuition fees could be seen as generally lower than those in other regions. It's still going to cost you something unless you get a full scholarship somewhere, but generally these tuition fees are lower. The other big factor is the PGWP, and PGWP means Postgrad Work Permit. This is kind of like the main or the pillar of the immigration system. So students who have graduated from universities or who have graduated from colleges, as long as their degree or their program is 2 years, they are eligible for 3-year postgrad work permit. And then that could later lead to permanent residency in the future. Another main point to consider is students are able to work while they study. So of course they have to maintain full-time student status, but students can work on campus or off campus during their studies. They can make some extra money, some pocket money to cover their living costs. And it's also very good for networking and learning new skills. Again, another point is many extracurricular activities. Of course, this goes across all different schools and universities in Canada. Students can take part in activities on their campus, in their communities, volunteer, sports, clubs, events, and so on. And the final point that I like to touch on is safety. People kind of wonder about, okay, is this country that I'm going to go to, is it safe? Not to say that we cannot say that there's no crime in Canada, because of course there is crime everywhere, but the crime rate is low and considered safe, even in the urban metropolitan areas. So generally, you just go about your business, you go about your life, and it's generally a very safe environment. Okay, so this kind of follows up on that slide, but it's kind of focused a little bit more on the college part. We are working for Alexander College, and there are universities as well. But these are very popular education choices, the colleges, because they offer many programs. They could be up to 1 to 3 years, and including maybe a work term. And this really helps the students when they graduate, when they finish, to get into the job market. Also, community colleges, such as like Alexander College, we offer transfer programs where students can start at a college and they can do 1 year or 2 years, and then they transfer to the bigger university to complete their bachelor's degree. We're going to talk about this because we do have this program at Alexander College in some future slides. The colleges are very dynamic. They're kind of in tune with what the local job market is needed. So, in British Columbia, for example, there's a bigger demand right now and a push for healthcare. So a lot of colleges are starting to focus on offering healthcare or health-related programs. Also, as I mentioned, as a pathway, students can start their studies at a college and, focus on their studies, get good grades, and then also can then transfer to a university to earn more credits toward their bachelor's degree. And those credits that they are earning, and we're going to talk about this in more detail, but the credits are fully transferable. That means when they transfer to the university, they're not starting over. So sometimes students confuse because they think, okay, why should I go to college? Because once I go to the university, I'm going to start over again. That's the beauty of the transfer system, is that you're transferring those credits. So you're just continuing on with your program. Okay, next slide. Okay, so I will pass it over to my colleague, Frank, and she will give you a little bit more information about the city of Vancouver and where we're located. So go ahead, Frank.
Thank you. So as Greg and Daria mentioned earlier, Canada has always been a popular destination for international students, but specifically Vancouver is recently we are seeing an increased number in the international students, and there are so many reasons why Vancouver is a popular destination, but it's good to mention that Vancouver, compared to other provinces, has a better weather condition, because the other provinces is colder. Some students, it's hard for them to adapt to the weather condition. That's why students willing to move to Vancouver or BC in general. We do have an advanced public transportation system, which is very convenient for our students to use those transportation and have access to even to our campuses. Vancouver or BC, known as a multiculturalism city, and it's welcome all people from all around the world. That's a unique part of Vancouver. And of course, the important system that we have, we call it BC Transfer System or BC Transfer Guide. This is a unique education system that British Columbia has to offer to all the students or all the international students. Using this system will allow students to transfer credits, which we'll be explaining more in the further slides. But this is a unique system, that education system that we have in British Columbia. Moving on, Alexander College, it's located in British Columbia, as Greg mentioned earlier, but our campuses is in Burnaby and Vancouver. When we talk about Burnaby, people will thought I was like, oh my God, it's far, it's like different city. No, it is only 20 minutes via SkyTrain. It's super accessible, very convenient location for our international students. Those pictures that you guys can see on the presentation slides, it's our new campus that we launched like a year ago. Everything brand new, very convenient location for our students. It's 7 minutes walk from one of the biggest shopping mall in Canada, which we call it Metro Mall. Very convenient location from the SkyTrain. It's only 10 minutes. Hopefully we are opening our Vancouver or downtown campus in a year. So a student will have a choice to schedule their classes between two campuses. Moving on about our student body, annually we have more than 54 countries students joining Alexander College. We are so proud to say that in one single semester, we were able to have more than 4,000 students registered and apply Alexander College. And we are proud of that. Hopefully, we are looking to have more of those students joining Alexander College in upcoming semester. And our three main intake, that is known as a fall, winter, and spring, or September, January, May. Currently, we are in a January or winter semester, which is it's been a month that semester started. The upcoming semester, which would be May or spring semester upcoming, and the next September. So these are the three main intake that the students can apply and register for the courses. We have a summer semester as well, but summer known as an authorized break for our students. So they can just take a break and just go visit their home country, or they can just like stay inside Canada, work full time. And I will be passing to Greg again to explain more about our programs.
Yeah, thank you, Frank. So yeah, just a brief mention about the intakes that Frank mentioned. So as she mentioned, those intakes starting in September, January, or May, and she did mention about the July semester that we have, but students can start on any of those intakes, the September, January, or May. So you don't have to, if you miss the September intake, you don't have to wait till the following September. You can, if depending on your visa and when you want to come, you can come for the January intake. You can start in that intake, or you can start in the May intake. So you're not limited to what intake you can start in. Okay, so we're going to talk about the different programs, and we have the three that you can see there: University Transfer, Associate Degree, and EAL, which we'll talk about. So if you can just go to the next slide, Frank. And the next one about University Transfer. Okay, so I've already talked a little bit about University Transfer, and Frank did mention about the BC transfer system, and this is more information about that. So in British Columbia, the British Columbian government many years ago, they made this kind of transfer system. So what they did is they went to all the colleges and universities, and they made this system. They evaluated all the courses. They set all the articulation agreements in place, and that allows the students to seamlessly transfer between colleges and universities because they'll get credit for their courses. So students are able to transfer to prestigious universities in British Columbia, UBC, Simon Fraser University, and they can also transfer to other provinces, for example, University of Toronto, and so on. And the programs are basically wide open. Computer science, data science, economics, social sciences, sociology, engineering, and so on. So basically how this works is the students have to study 1 year. Okay, so you cannot just come for one semester. You do have to do at least 1 year. And then you're able, if you like, you can transfer into year 2 at the university. So in that case, it's 1 year at Alexander College, and then you're transferring into second year of the university. So you're doing 3 more years at the university. So it's a 1+3. The other option is to do 2 years. So you're able to transfer after 2 years at Alexander College, then you're transferring into year 3. So it's a 2+2 system. And upon, when you're once you're at Alexander College, when you're transferring to the university will look at your Alexander College grades. They're not going to look at your high school grades anymore because you're already in the BC post-secondary system. And upon completion of a university level course, English course, you do not have to do an IELTS or an English proficiency test. And the other main factor is your saving on your tuition fees, which we'll talk about the tuition fees in a further slide, but you're can save up to 30 to 50% on your tuition fees. Next slide. So we do have Alexander College, we do have a proven track record and a success high transfer rate. Over 700 students annually transfer to universities and 70% acceptance rate. You can see some screenshots of the offer letters from universities like Simon Fraser, UBC, University of Toronto. And your students are eligible for scholarships when they transfer to those big universities. So if they've done really well at their courses at Alexander College, they've got high grades, then they could be eligible for scholarships. And it also, I did allude to, you are able to transfer to other schools in other provinces. So this is a screenshot from the University of Toronto, which is in Ontario. For example, if the student did economics at Alexander College, that will equal one of the economics courses at University of Toronto. So there is an extra step. They do have to check with the university out of province that they will accept the credits from Alexander College, but most of them will because UBC does, and it's a very big university. So you can see some other examples of university where we've had students transfer to University of Toronto, University of Alberta, Manitoba, Calgary, Memorial, and so on. This is just a screenshot. This is just showing, basically how the transfer works. So this is an example. Like if a student wanted to transfer from Alexander College to Simon Fraser School of Business, the BD School of Business, there's the courses that they would have to do at SFU, and you can see the equivalent courses at Alexander College. So for example, Alexander College, there's the English 100, that's the first year English. That equals English 199 at SFU. So the student takes English 100 at Alexander College. They know once they get to Simon Fraser University, they've taken the equivalent course. So that's basically how it works. And you can see there's some, at the top, there's some bullet points. They have to get a certain grade point average. Once they meet that grade point average, then they have a high probability of doing the transfer. Another example, this is for commerce, for business transfer to UBC, Sauder School of Business. It could be a 1 year or 2 year transfer. So students would maybe do 1 year at Alexander College, transfer into year 2, or they do 2 years at Alexander College and then transfer into year 3. So just another example for UBC. Okay, I will pass it over to Frank, and she will talk about another type of program that we have at Alexander College called the associate degree. So go ahead, Frank.
Thank you, Greg. So our most popular degree, it's called associate degree, and we have majority of our students, international students, coming for this program. So it is important to mention that the associate degree, it's at Alexander College, designed to be a 2 years study degree, and this 2 years degree known as a first 2 years study of your bachelor's degree. As Greg mentioned earlier in university transfer program 2+2, it's a similar idea. So students getting their first 2 years degree with Alexander College, but they are actually receiving a degree which would make them eligible for postgraduate work permit. And their postgraduate work permit usually it's eligible for valid for up to 3 years. So it's a great opportunities for students joining Alexander College to receive their associate degree and apply for postgraduate work permit. And while they are studying with Alexander College, of course, their study visa would allow them to work up to 20 hours per week. And if anyone joining Alexander College and they have a partner, the other partner would be eligible for a work permit. So a first partner would be receiving a study visa, and the second one can apply for a work permit and can work outside the campus, like any job that they can find. So this is a great benefit for couples, basically, that they want to come Canada. They can apply for a study visa, and the second partner would be eligible for a work permit. This is a great benefit. Moving on to second slide and talking about the programs that we have to offer. So we can divide it in two different categories of Associate of Arts and Science. Under arts, we have business and economics, business and psychology, economics, international business, international relations, mathematics, psychology, and sociology. And under the science, we have computer science and mathematics. All the associate degrees that are listed in this page all are eligible for postgraduate work permit, and students can receive up to 3 years of postgraduate work permit. And if they work for a year or two, they would be most likely eligible to apply for their PR or permanent residency. And this is just a sample to show how students can choose their courses. For example, we do have Associate of Arts or Business degree in this page. In the top, it mentioned students need 64 credits, meaning that student has to register or complete 64 credits in total of 2 years in order to graduate and receive her or his degree. And this is just like more, if we dive in, we will see like we offer more than 64 credits, but this is, we are offering more courses for our students. If anyone is not comfortable, let's say taking economic course, they can choose psychology. If they are not comfortable with psychology, they can do sociology. So we offer more courses just so students can choose the right courses that fit for them, and it's in their area of interest. And this is, we do have for each program, we do have a specific a program planning worksheet that they have to follow in order to graduate. Usually, all associate degrees require 60 credits. Business is the only program that the student has to complete 64 credits in the duration of 2 years in order to graduate and receive their associate degree. And I'll pass Greg again to explain more about our English programs.
Okay, thank you, Frank. So we do have another program that we do have at Alexander College is English as an additional language, so EAL. So basically for those students where, because the Alexander College, all the courses are taught in English, so students have to meet an English proficiency requirement. They do not need the English proficiency test for admission. So, you know, students sometimes have taken IELTS, or they've taken Duolingo, or they've taken TOEFL, or some English proficiency test, but it is not necessary for admission. So they can get admitted. They can do a placement test once they get here. But a lot of students do one of those tests, and depending on the level, then they can start in English 98 or English 99. And when they're doing those courses, they're able to take at the same time university credit courses. And this allows students to upgrade their English enough to then do academic studies in Canada and at Alexander College. So this is just showing how this works. So there's there's basically English 98, English 99. If they do need to upgrade their English a little bit, then they have the pathway. Then they can go into university transfer, or they can go into associate degree, which Frank just mentioned, and then again they can transfer to the universities for the university transfer, or when they graduate their associate degree, then they can apply for the PGWP. And I will pass it back to Frank, who will, I guess, talk about, sure. Should I do this, Frank, or do you want to do this?
Yes.
You're going to go ahead?
Yes,
okay.
I can do it.
So you talk about a little bit about our services. Go ahead.
Thank you. So it is very unique service that we have again at Alexander College. As you guys can also see in the picture, we call it Writing and Learning Center. So this is a unique service that we offer at Alexander College. Basically, we have tutors available for our students. It's free and unlimited access for all the students in all subject areas that we offer at Alexander College. So these tutors is available on top of their instructor for students. students. So in Canada, hiring a tutor for like just to get extra help, it's very costly. But this tutor at Alexander College is free and available for our students unlimited, because we know most of our international students that joining, they need extra help because English might be their second or third language. These tutors would be there for them to help in all the courses that they are going to take at Alexander College. We offer academic advising, including myself and so many of other my colleagues. We will help students to choose right courses that fit their program requirement. And if they're planning to do university transfer program, we have to make sure our student choosing the right courses for a right the degree that they are planning to transfer, UBC or SFU, to just meet those requirements in order for students to be eligible for the transfer. We do have career advisors that help our students with making their resume, cover letter, mock interviews in order our students to be successfully entered to the work environment. We offer 10 free sessions per year of health and wellness counseling service. So students, if they need extra emotional support or like they're feeling homesick, they are more than welcome to make an appointment and meet with our counselors. Another unique program that we have, it's called Student Worker Program. So basically, it's the job opportunities that we offer within the campus for our students. They can apply for those jobs, and if they are a right candidate, of course, they would be hired and it would be paid based on the BC minimum wage. Each province in Canada, they have their own specific minimum wage that BC also known as one of the top high paid minimum wage, which is right now it's 15.60ish, I believe. So if their students hired, they would get paid based on the BC minimum wage. And of course, we have on-campus and off-campus opportunities, volunteer options for students, which is very important in Canada for students to do the volunteer opportunities or be part of the community that can help their resume. And eventually, if they're planning to transfer university, or even if they want to find a job later on, it will help them a lot with volunteer hours. And in general, why students choose Alexander College? As Greg mentioned earlier, we have a high transfer rate to BC universities. We have a flexible admission requirement, which we'll be explaining further in detail in upcoming slides. We have an affordable tuition fee compared to most post-secondary institutions in BC. We have 4 semesters in a year that if a student missed any of those intake, they can definitely apply for the next upcoming one, and still they would be eligible to get an admission, apply for their study visa, and join Alexander College. And this is also a great point that we do at Alexander College. If, let's say, a student does not have any science background, but they are willing to do either science or computer science with us, they can still be eligible to apply Alexander College, but they have to complete usually 1 to 2 semesters of prerequisites, and then they can switch their program to computer science or science. So if you still never studied any science courses, never complete mathematics, that's also fine. You can just complete those requirements or prerequisites with us and then change your program to your desired science or computer science degree. And I think I will be passing to Greg again to explain more.
Okay, so we don't, thank you, Frank. So we are, as I mentioned earlier, there's no need for the English proficiency test for admission. Many students will take the IELTS or to show their English proficiency, but it's not mandatory. We do pride ourselves, once applications are submitted, offer of admissions are usually processed within 2 to 5 business days. And as we mentioned, we have the 3 intakes a year, September, January, May, for the international students. Next. So if we talk about the tuition fees, this is the tuition fee from September 2023 intake. So we're right now, we're in the middle. We just started this January winter 2023. The next intake is May 2023, but with the visa processing, it takes some time. So if we're looking at September 2023, the 2-year associate degree or 1 year of university transfer, you're looking at $18,300 Canadian a year. You can see the 2-year is double that, so either 36,000 or 39,000. So students are able, once they get their offer letter, they can pay upfront the 1-year fee, 18,300. That's up to them. But Alexander College, our minimum requirement is 50% of that. So at least they have to pay $9,150 Canadian, which is highlighted there in yellow. So that would be to get the letter of acceptance and then to apply for their Canada study visa. So and if they pay $9,150, that will be reflected on their letter of acceptance. But as I said, if they want to pay 1-year fee, $18,300, that is entirely up to the student. But our minimum requirement is 50% of that, which is $9,150. Okay, I think I will just pass it to Frank because Frank's picture is on here. If you don't know, Frank used to be a student of Alexander College, so she can kind of explain about the Canadian Career Readiness Program. Thank you, Frank.
Thank you. As Greg mentioned, myself studied just a small story about myself. So I studied Associate of Arts in Business at Alexander College. I graduated 2021, not a long time ago. So I was lucky and I got job opportunity within the campus. Now I'm helping for upcoming those international students who's joining Alexander College, make sure they get all the helps that they need, basically. So back to our slides, we have this program that we launched called Canadian Career Readiness Program. So basically it's free and it's not mandatory, it's optional for our students. They can be part of this program, which is take 8 weeks, and it will help them just to learn everything that they need to know about the work environment or work culture in Canada. So basically, as you can see, they will explain the workplace, how it works, how to find the job opportunities, writing a resume and cover letter, networking. LinkedIn is very important in Canada, and all those information all what students needs to know in order to find a job, and eventually once they're in a workplace and they need to find a professional job after graduating, they would be eligible to be part of this program and learn all the information that they need to know. And this is very related to the previous slide that I explained. So we have students, at least like I would say 80% of our students graduate every year with associate degree, meaning they're applying for their postgraduate work permit. And we've seen our students, the job opportunities that they've been able to find, they are like product advisor at Microsoft, senior customer service representative, admin assistants, banking advisor, marketing coordinator. So these are the main job opportunities that our students, after graduating from Alexander College, they've been able to find and get hired. Of course, it's not limited, but these are the main popular one that we've seen among our students. They're successfully graduated, then they've been able to find a job and they've been working in their interest area.
Yeah, I think we're coming to the end of the presentation, but I think for the last couple slides, I mean, we are available on, of course, all the social media channels, our official website, and then you can check Facebook, Instagram. We have our own YouTube channel, which has lots of videos about programs, life at Alexander College, campus tour, and so on that. So you're welcome to follow any of those links. And yeah, and then I think our last slide there is just our contact information. So my email, g.pokorny@alexandercollege.ca. My WhatsApp number is there. Frank, her contact information is there as well. But yeah, we really, again, we really thank everybody for joining in, and I think we've come to the end here. And any final words there, Frank, before we pass it to Daria?
I just want to mention we are also available on WhatsApp. If email might be hard for you guys, you can definitely send us a WhatsApp text. We would be more than happy just answer any question you guys might have.
Yeah, so with that, thank you, and pass it back to Daria, and then I think there's probably some questions, and we can answer any questions for the Q&A session. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Gregory and Frank, for such a valuable information and presentation. Today we had a lot of listeners, and please ask your questions. We have a couple, but we will continue receiving questions. And in case you're going to contact Gregory or Frank directly, please do mention that you're coming from the webinar for the reference. And if you need our assistance with application process, you are welcome to contact us. We will show the slide with our contact details. Just a couple of questions coming from me, and then we will pass to the questions from the audience. Regarding the programs, do students choose between university transfer program and associate degree program in advance, or these programs have the same curricula and students can decide which route to choose during their studies?
Yeah, good question. So yes, when the student applies, they do have to apply to a certain program. So it's not just a general application. So they do have to choose. Like, for example, Frank mentioned she when she studied, she was an Associate of Arts in Business. So that's what she would apply to before when she applied to the college. For university transfer, they can apply for that, and the LOA will say university transfer. Duration of the LOA is always 2 years, but they do have to pick a program before. Now, once they get to Alexander College, let's say they picked Associate of Arts Computer Science, and they started and they took a computer science course and they absolutely hated it, and they're like, oh my God, what am I doing in this computer science course? I don't want to study this anymore. It's very easy to change. They can change the program, and then they can take, if they want to change it to business, then they can start taking business, Associate of Arts in Business. So it's not saying that they're stuck in that program. Whatever they choose, they can easily change if need be.
Okay, that's clear. And then the next question is, so students who apply for university transfer program, they have to transfer to university, and they do not get this postgraduate work permit in case they complete 2 years of the program and not transfer to university.
Yeah, go ahead, Frank. Yeah.
Sorry. For university transfer program, they cannot complete the entire credits with us because so in order to transfer university transfer, because they're planning to get bachelor's degree, meaning they have to complete 120 credits in order to receive their bachelor's degree, and they cannot complete more than, I would say, like 60 of those credits with us. Otherwise, it won't be transferable, or it won't be, that university won't be accepted. They have to complete 50% of those credits with us. So if they are transferring, they are the university transfer students, they cannot get postgraduate work permit because their final destination would be, let's say, UBC, SFU. In order to receive a postgraduate work permit, a student has to complete the entire degree and receive their diploma or whatever associate degree, bachelor's degree, and in order to be eligible to submit their application for the postgraduate work permit to be eligible.
Okay, that's clear. And,
yeah, so basically they do need a credential, so to get that, to be eligible for the PGWP. So if they're doing the university transfer after 1 year or 2 years, and then they continue on with their bachelor's degree, and then they finish their bachelor's degree. Of course, then they're eligible for the PGWP. But they would, if they're coming from Alexander College, they would need the credential from Alexander College, which is the associate degree.
Yes, that's clear now. And then the question is about the associate degree. After completing the associate degree at Alexander College, students can get postgraduate work permit, but do they have the opportunity to transfer to university or to continue their education at a university?
Yeah, definitely. That's what a lot of students will do is their maybe ultimate goal is to get the bachelor's degree, but let's say they started with the associate degree, they finished it, they graduated. Let's say they decide, okay, I need to make some money. So they apply for the 3-year work permit, postgrad work permit, and they work, and then they say, oh, you know what, I want to go back now and finish my bachelor's degree. Those credits that they've earned are, I believe they're good for up to 10 years. So they're not like, they don't expire, like I guess after 10 years they will expire, but so they can put on hold, they can go to work, make some money, and then even think about this, if they got the work permit and then they got permanent residency, then when they went back to university, they would be paying the tuition fees at the permanent resident, like a domestic student, which are much cheaper. Yeah. So a lot of students do that. And just one other thing, I just keep in mind that, we're talking mostly about international students, of course, but this university transfer system is done by a lot of local Canadian students as well in BC. They go to a college first, and then they do 1 year or 2 years. They like the smaller class sizes. They like the where they can concentrate on their studies, and then they will transfer to university. So it's not just international students. A lot of Canadian or domestic students also take advantage of the university transfer system.
Yes, and to summarize, it means that students who apply to Alexander College, regardless, whatever, if it's the university transfer program or associate degree program, they save their money for the first 2 years, at least for the first 2 years of university education, because universities are much more expensive than colleges. And in case students finish the associate degree at Alexander College, then get the postgraduate work permit, work for a while, then get the permanent residency, they apply to universities as domestic students. And again, for domestic students, the university education is much more affordable than for international students. This is a great.
You've exactly summarized it well. So that's basically how it is. And just one note about the tuition fees. Like we talked about the tuition fees at Alexander College, $18,300 Canadian a year. And yeah, don't get me wrong, it is a good chunk of money. But you had just alluded to, for example, when let's say they do the university transfer, of course, once they transfer to the bigger university, they do have to pay those university fees. Simon Fraser University is around 40,000. UBC is around 55,000 Canadian a year just for tuition fees. So if they're paying 18,300 for 1 or 2 years and then they're transferring, you can see the savings that they're getting for their tuition fees compared to the bigger universities.
Yes, right. So we have a couple of questions from our listeners. There is a question about, please tell more about postgraduate studies, but it's not the case of Alexander College, right? It's the university level. If you want to study at a master degree programs, you have to apply to universities because it's the university level programs in Canada.
Yeah, so at Alexander College, I mean, we only have undergraduate courses. So somebody who's done their bachelor's degree, maybe this person who's asking the question, they've done their bachelor's degree, they're looking for postgraduate or post-degree options, or masters. Yeah, they would have to look at those schools, colleges that have postgraduate programs or have master's, universities that have master's programs. You know, it's not saying that they can't get admitted to Alexander College. They could certainly get admitted to Alexander College, but the issue is, and you can, as at Univibes, you can probably advise the students like this, is that issue becomes the visa. Because when the visa officer sees that somebody's got a bachelor's degree and then they're applying to associate degree, why are they doing this? Is not a progression in studies. This is like a regression, you know, so and then the visa may not be issued. So it's important to, you know, it's important to find the right program for the student based on their academic background.
Yeah, sure. And also the question is about the couple coming together, if they have to apply for visas at the same time. So a student applies for the student visa and the spouse applies for the work permit at the same time, simultaneously.
I believe what I've seen from students, the first partner should receive the study permit first. Based on the study permit and enrollment letter of the first partner, they can go ahead and apply for a work permit later. It cannot happen at the same time because they need a proof that saying that, yes, I received my study permit, I successfully registered and paid for my courses at Alexander College, and then they can go ahead and apply for a work permit for the partner.
Okay.
And they can, yeah, that Frank is right, exactly. So they get the study permit first, and then the spouse could then apply for the work permit. They can apply for that from outside of Canada, or they can apply from that from once they come to Canada as well. So there's two ways to just essentially, yes, to answer the question, they have to get the study permit first, but they could apply from outside of Canada or inside Canada.
So a spouse can enter Canada as a tourist and then change the status. Okay.
Yes, and we didn't mention this, but in our presentation, but we do have the RISIA staff on. RISIA means the Registered International Student Immigration Advisor. So it's so mostly for student-related inquiries about immigration. So our RISIA can answer those kind of related questions about spousal work permit and so on. So we do have those RISIA on staff as well. Okay,
thank you. Another good question, but probably the answer was somewhere near. Alicia is asking, can I have a gap in college university transfer? So after completing the university transfer program at Alexander College, is it a possibility to have a gap, or students have to apply to join universities right after the graduation?
I think they should, with the university transfer program specifically, they should transfer to university right away. It's because as an international student, they have to make sure they are maintaining full-time status for entire duration of their study. Because if they're eventually planning to apply for postgraduate work permit, so their postgraduate work permit won't be in trouble. However, with associate degree, it is okay if you graduated, you can finish 2 years, receive your degree from Alexander College, get your work permit. Of course, there's a gap because right now you are working, you are under postgraduate work permit. You can work for a year, 2, 3. You will have a gap. Then if you decided to go back to school, you can go back to school, and as we mentioned earlier, by then you would most likely be PR or domestic student. You can go back to school after 2-3 years, and you can continue another 2 years in order to get your bachelor's degree. With associate degree, yes, you can have a gap, but the university transfer not recommended.
Yeah, so students have to think beforehand if they are planning to have a gap between their college and university, or if they are ready to start right after the completion of the university transfer program, though. So no gap is possible.
Yes.
Yeah, and the students have to think kind of long-term a little bit, because even the 3-year post-grad work permit, it's a one-time permit, one time in their life. So there's not like this is available 2 or 3 times. They can just, okay, I'll do a 3-year work permit now and then go back to school, and then I'll get another work permit. It doesn't work like that. So they have to think about what is their long-term plan. Okay, I finished this associate degree. Do I want to start working? Am I going to apply for permanent residency? So they have to kind of plan that, have a little bit of more long-term perspective.
Okay, it's clear. Sonia is asking, do we have to pay to apply to Alexander College? Do you have an application fee or something like that?
We do have application fee of $200, which is non-refundable like most of the other post-secondary institutions. Yes, $200 application fee, and they will submit their application. And we also mentioned about the deposit that they have to do in order to receive their letter of acceptance, which is a required document in order for them to apply for a study permit. At least they have to do the 50%, which would be $9,150. Let's say for any reason their study visa gets refused, $200, it's non-refundable. From the deposit amount, doesn't matter half or full year that they've deposited, we are going to deduct $300 admin fee. The rest of the money would be back to student account. So we are total of $500 students will lose. The rest would be back to student account in case of study visa refusal.
Okay, that's clear. And I think that the last question is, but I'm not sure if I can understand the abbreviation. Saida is asking, I wanted to know more about bachelor's programs such as MBBS. Probably you can help.
Okay, so I don't know the acronym MBBS.
Management business or something like that.
Yeah, I think manager business science or something. We don't have. Okay, so as we talked about university transfer, we don't have bachelor's degrees at Alexander College. Basically, actually, I can mention on this note, we are in development of bachelor's degrees that have to be approved by the Ministry of Education in BC. So we have submitted some plan for bachelor's degrees that we will have at Alexander College in the future, but it's not set yet. But about this, in this case,
sorry, Gregory Saida is typing that it's about medicine program.
Oh, medicine. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway. Okay. So I'll try. It's a little bit complicated, but I'll try to make this as simple as possible. Okay. In Canada for medicine, it's a kind of long process. Basically, the student has to get their bachelor's degree first. Okay, and it has to be a Bachelor of Science if they want to go to med school. It has to be a Bachelor of Science in chemistry or biology, biochemistry. So basically, they have to get a 4-year degree first. We do not have pre-med. We do not have this. Some colleges, some universities will have health science, but that is not something where you can just become a doctor after that. So basically, you have to get a bachelor's degree first. So you do have to go into a Bachelor of Science. So that is something where the student could come to Alexander College and start their studies in science to do the university transfer for a Bachelor of Science. And then once they get their Bachelor of Science, then it's something where they would then apply to med school. But it is kind of a long process because in Canada, the universities don't have many spots for international students for med school. So it's almost like something like where we've talked about before, where the student has to get maybe a work permit, then get permanent residency, and then they could apply to med school. So it's a long, drawn-out process, but they do have to get a bachelor's degree first.
Yes, it's like everywhere. Actually, it's very difficult to become a doctor for international students.
Yeah, like I don't mean to discourage them. It's just that it's not something where a student can just be 21 years old and be a doctor in Canada. It just doesn't work that way. So they do have to get a bachelor's degree. Then there's med school, and but that's the kind of the procedure in Canada.
I think it's good to mention they have to have a bachelor's, and they have to be a Canadian. They have to be either PR or citizenship in order to be eligible to submit their application for med school.
Like I heard on this case about 3 or 4 years ago, there's some universities in Ontario, like University of Toronto, they had some spots for international students for med school, but I think they had 20 spots. I mean, you can imagine 20 spots only at University of Toronto, how competitive that would be. So that was, and so like Frank mentioned, the kind of route to go is to get the permanent residency and then apply.
Indeed. We have two repeating questions. We've discussed already about what does the student have to do to be able to pay as a domestic student. It's not about the college, I suppose, because for college it is not possible to pay as a domestic student if you are now an international student.
Yeah, so basically, yeah, because when the student submits the application, of course, we have to know their nationality. So once the nationality is inputted in our application database, then okay, if the student is Canadian, then okay, then the domestic application fee. But if the student is non-Canadian from another country, then it's automatically have to pay the $200 application fee.
Yes, but it is an option to save your money if you join Alexander College as an international student, as we discussed. Then complete the associate degree, get the postgraduate work permit for up to 3 years, and then change your status within this time frame to the permanent resident, and then you have the right to apply to join or continue your education at a university as a domestic student. That's how correct. You can save your money. And another question, again, once I get study visa, can my husband join me with open work permit? Yes, he can.
Yeah.
So if you have anything as the closing marks for this webinar, you're welcome to say final words. I think that we finished with the questions today.
Okay. Well, I know that maybe some of the audience listening, they didn't ask this question, but I realized that maybe we didn't mention it, is about the English proficiency requirement. So if the student, they don't have to do the English test, but if they have done IELTS, or we are accepting Duolingo as well. So IELTS, the score is 6.0. and it has to be 6.0 in writing, and Duolingo is 110, with the literacy mark have to be 105. So that is for direct entry to meet our English proficiency requirement. So I just wanted to mention that because I don't think it was mentioned in the presentation. And yeah, I just thank you again to everybody who has tuned in from wherever you are listening in from, and we've been very pleased and honored to give this presentation, and thank you everybody for your attendance. And I'll pass it to my colleague Frank for her closing remarks.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining today, taking your time. It was great. Hopefully you've learned some information about Alexander College. Please feel free to contact Doria or any of us if you have any potential questions. We would be more than happy to answer all those questions. Take care and have a good evening, everyone.
Yes, and on behalf of Univibes, I would like to thank you all for coming to our webinar, for joining our webinar today. I hope that the information was useful for you, and if you have questions, you are free to contact us. If you would like to schedule an individual consultation with either Gregory or Frank, or if you need some navigation about Canadian education, and if you need help with application process, please feel free to contact Univibes. You can see the slide on the screen. we will be happy to help you. And thank you again for joining this webinar today. Have a good evening. Bye-bye. Yes, and actually there were 28 listeners. I made some screenshots during the webinar, and actually this number was quite stable. We had like 28, 26, 27, and
so the ones that did come listened for the most of the presentation. Yeah, good.
Yes,
yeah.
And usually when it is the Q&A session, some of the listeners, they switch off, and we had 20 by the very end. So it's a